Here to Help is recorded before a live audience.
Ladies and gentlemen, may the healing begin!
Live from the UCB Theater East, it's the Here to Help podcast. Please welcome Andy Rocco!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, your host, Andy Rocco, the host of the Here to Help podcast. Thank you. In case you are listening to this for the first time or you're coming into this brand new, this is a podcast where I assemble friends and comedians and characters alike to make a panel, and then we give advice, try to help sort out your damn life. And I'm very excited about today's show. I am very excited because everybody on the panel tonight, I mean, I'm always excited. This is always the highlight of my week. But like everyone on the show, it means a lot to me. They're like very special people to me. And I'll give my affirmation today, which is that I promise not to self-deprecate too much. And I also promise to not laugh right into the microphone, as that too hurts people's ears. And I feel good. I feel like this is gonna be. I'm very excited about the show. I can't tell you because the first comedian we have coming on the stage is it's very funny. He lived in New York for a long time, and then he moved to L.A. and he's back in town. So I couldn't have him on the show, and I'm very excited. He's a very gifted improviser and stand-up comedian. He was on Late Night with Conan O'Brien. He's written for many TV shows and such. He's kind of a hero of mine, and I always idolized him, and I'm just thrilled to have him on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Mr. Sean Conroy!
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks for doing the show.
Thank you for having me, Andy. I appreciate it.
You were, I was just such a big fan because I used to watch you do stand-up at UCB. Like
I did that.
Every Wednesday at Hump Night.
Hump Night, yes.
That was just like, and then you were on that, like one of the most amazing improv teams ever. The Swarm.
One of the most amazing improv teams ever?
The most.
Thank you, Andy.
The Swarm.
Yes, I was on the Swarm.
Yeah, and it's just like I find it's hard because I feel like some stand-ups are great stand-ups, but not necessarily great improvisers.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think you're both.
Thank you, Andy.
But I feel like a lot of ego is in a way when you're a stand-up and you go to improv. Right? Do you feel so, or?
Yeah, I think a lot of stand-ups trying to do improv want to be the funniest one all the time, and that's not the way improv works.
Right.
Can I raise this microphone?
Yeah,
right
no,
now
please. You can also take it out if you
looking
like.
at the floor, and
No,
it feels
okay.
weird. Yeah, I feel like you can always tell stand-ups in improv classes,
right?
Because they're the ones going for the joke. I feel like it's two totally different skill sets.
Yeah, but you've refined both. Very
Thank
well.
you,
Andy. And you write, and you're a good actor too.
Thank you. Keep going.
Yeah, I've pretty much covered a lot of this.
Okay,
ground.
all right.
So I'm trying out something kind of new. I wanted to see if I feel like a good way to get to know somebody is to find out about their childhood.
Right.
So
So you've done some research on my childhood?
No, I didn't. That's the whole
Okay.
purpose of this. I was gonna ask you, what were you like as a child?
Okay. Because I can answer that, but people can just make shit up, right? Like
Right.
They could say, like, I was the most popular kid in school, and that doesn't necessarily have to be true.
No, it wouldn't. But I'm hoping everyone works on the
That people
honest.
be honest.
Yeah. Because most comedians are pretty honest.
Right. Well, I was kind of an asshole when I was a kid.
How so?
Just a wise ass. I
Yeah.
remember my friend Mark said to me one time, he was like, we were probably like 11, and he was like, you got to watch your mouth or you're going to get punched in the face. And he wasn't saying that he was going to do it. He was saying that somebody else was going to do it.
Yeah.
Some unspecified person that I mouthed off to
Mm-hmm.
was going to punch me in the face. And lo and behold, since that time, I have been punched in the face. So he was correct. His prophecy came true.
What was the circumstance to why you got punched in the face?
Oh, it's happened a few times.
Really? It's
yeah.
crazy to get punched in the face.
It's not fun. I don't know if it's crazy, but it's not fun.
No, because I think when you get punched in the face, there's a thought where you're like, oh, I'm supposed to go out like immediately. But sometimes you're just still like standing. Like
You think I'm supposed to go out?
no, like when you get punched in the face.
I wonder if boxers ever think that. Like, just getting hit in the face and going, I should be out by now. That would be a bad boxer. No, I you know, I've been hit a few times.
Yeah.
I've hit back a few times. It happens.
Yeah.
But I was a total wise ass as a kid. I remember once being on a trip. We went on a trip to Washington, D.C. for 3 days, my class, my
Right.
6th grade class. And my friend Cliff and I decided it would be fun to keep this girl, Pam Richardson, from getting her ice cream at the end of dinner. So we were playing keep away with her ice cream. And I threw the ice cream to Cliff, and it was not a good throw. And it hit Mrs. Policelli right in the coffee. Just poured her coffee all over her.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a good thing there was ice there because it kind of neutralized it a little. Or
Well, I think she was wearing several layers, so she was okay. She did not
Okay,
get
thank God.
burned. But then that came back to haunt me later that year when she just called me out in the middle of the class. Like, she was my 6th grade teacher, and she clearly hated me because one day she just stopped. Like, I guess I was fucking around. I don't remember what I was doing. But she stopped in the middle of class, and in front of everybody, she was like, just because you're in love with some girl doesn't mean you have to show off all the time. And, like, thinking back on that now, it was so embarrassing at the time because I was like, I'm not in love with the girl. Because that was the weirdest thing you could do when you were 12. Although I
do
probably
that
was.
deep voice.
Yeah. That was weird when I pulled that out.
You're wrong, Mrs. Policelli. I ain't in love with no lady.
Yeah. So
Anyway, let's get back to the times tables. Are we doing fractions tomorrow?
I would like to make sweet love to a lady.
But so she clearly just hated me. And
Yeah.
like thinking back on it now, I'm like, that was so inappropriate. And it's not like she was like a young teacher. She had been teaching for like 75 years at that point.
she's
but
seen it all.
I had just pushed her to her breaking point.
That's pretty remarkable, actually.
Yeah.
I never kind of thought of you as like a troublemaking. Why? Like I know you're like very sardonic.
Sardonic, yes.
You're very sardonic and very clever.
Yes.
But I always kind of thought of you
So
as
clever. So very clever.
Well, did you get like? I kind of thought you would be like kind of a more of a bookish kind of guy, or
Oh,
kinda-
certainly. Yes. I was definitely a nerd, like a total
right.
study, like did all my work.
Were you
and
about to say stud? Stud muffin of
I read a lot
D&D.
of books and I fucked a lot of chicks when I was in 6th grade. No. That would be horrible. That would be something bad. But no, I was the kid who in freshman year of high school biology, that Mr. Gomprecht, our teacher, was like, "Did you guys have homework last night?" And everybody said, "No, we didn't have homework. We didn't." And I was like, "Excuse me, yes, we had a homework." Like so that was like another time I got punched in the face. Deservedly so. Like, I was just being honest. It didn't even occur to me that I wasn't supposed to go, yeah, we had a homework. I did it. It was on page 54, questions 1 through 8.
Wow.
Vertebrates versus invertebrates.
Well, I have to wrap this up a little bit. Do you mind? Well, I want to get to my stipple question. The question I ask all our guests.
Okay.
Is there any kind of free advice you would like to give our podcast listening audience?
Did you want to kiss me, Andy?
No.
Is that a Freudian slip?
Are you a
Our
pod?
podkiss?
Are you a pod?
No.
Is there any kind of free advice you'd like to give? Something you learned about the world, or something you feel like everyone should know?
Well, this is, I mean, I don't know whether to be serious or not, but I will be.
I welcome both.
Because as you said, I did stuff at the UCB Theater for a long time. Then I moved to LA. And I feel like I'm still trying to find myself in the comedy world.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about this on my way across the street here. I looked and saw, I've never been to this UCB. Do you say UCB East or UC Beast?
People call it the Beast, and some people call it UCB.
The Beast. I've never been to the Beast before.
Yeah.
But I took my first UCB classes like 15 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
which is a long time. So my piece of wisdom is just one word: persevere.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, it's a good advice because like
I like how one person is softly clapping to that.
no, but it's true though because it's just like the one thing I've learned was just like whenever I hear new people talk about improv, they're like, I don't think I'm getting any good. I'm like, yeah, that's what it feels like forever.
Right.
Like it's not you're never not gonna feel that way. Like
Well, hopefully you will eventually,
no, you won't. I think everybody.
or hopefully you will not feel that way.
I
eventually.
also was thinking recently because like like movie stars, right? They make a movie,
Sure, that's
but
what they do.
But they also, but they'll make a bomb once in a while, and
Yeah.
like and that's just part of their journey too. They like you can't avoid failure no matter what you do. I feel.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's Andy's words of wisdom.
I
Like
I
how
was
you
just-
use the question to me to turn it back on yourself.
Well, that's what I do. It's my podcast.
It's your podkiss.
No, but I'm so happy you did the show because
Thank you.
you are a huge inspiration and
Thank
one of
you,
my
Andy.
heroes.
I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad that you can do the show, and
I'm glad that you're glad. I'm glad.
The next people are inspirations to me too because they the show they do is called the Flophouse. It's a podcast where they critique and just kind of have a really good time at a lot of really horrible schlock that comes out of Hollywood. And I don't know, some of them don't even qualify as Hollywood, but like this was actually one of the first podcasts that I regularly listened to. And I've always been a big fan of like the radio medium, but like when I started listening to these guys, I just really got into it, and I just loved that it was just kind of a fun time just to hang out with your friends and just talk about bad movies, and that's like stuff I love. And I'd probably, if I didn't listen to these guys, I probably wouldn't have started my own. And I thank them very much for that, and they're really funny guys, and let's just give it up for, ladies and gentlemen, the Flophouse! The Flophouse is made of Dan McCoy.
Hello.
The next member is Stuart Wellington.
Hello.
And not last but not least, Mr. Elliot Kalin.
Greetings.
I'm so excited. I was just going to kind of interview each of you just down the row real quick about yourselves so people can get an idea of what you guys are like. Everybody knows that you love bad movies. And
Everybody knows that.
everybody. It's in all the papers.
Worldwide knowledge.
Yes. But I feel like we don't hear a lot of, like, we get some ideas about what you guys are like, aside from bad movies. So I was wondering, I was going to pose the same question. I was wondering, we'll start with Dan McCoy. Dan McCoy, what were you like as a kid? What was,
Chubby,
you were?
acne riddled.
Yeah.
I read a lot. Felt awkward in my town.
Why were you feeling so awkward in your town?
Well, I mean, my parents, my dad was a professor at the college there in a very small town, and my mom worked at the library. And
What was the town?
it's called Eureka, Illinois, and the college was Eureka College, which is the college that Ronald Reagan attended, and my parents were far left liberals.
Sean Conroy applauded very slightly for that.
Yeah, my parents were far left liberals, so they were not happy about that.
Okay.
And the town was the sort of town where you would find a college that Ronald Reagan would attend.
I had to ask you a crazy question. Didn't I hear at one point that your father was a preacher at one point?
He was a minister before I was born.
Really?
Yeah.
How was that? How's ministers they can have sex?
Well, I mean, this was not. Yes.
No, I don't know.
Like physically,
or
That was why he stopped.
Well, the weird thing is his father was a castrato. That's you really shouldn't have been able to have children.
Wait a minute, I'm putting it all together now, guys. I think the milkman's my father.
Oh.
The serial killer, the milkman.
Yeah.
I thought you were made out of midichlorians or something.
Yeah. No, yeah. Ministers can have sex. You're thinking of priests who can only have sex with children. No, he
rim shots.
If a rim
Really,
shot sounds like someone,
pedophilia deserves a rim shot.
if a rim shot sounded like someone
At
going,
least.
"Aw, no," then yes. But yeah, no, I was a minister. Both of my grandparents were ministers. My uncle was a minister.
Hmm.
A very minister-filled family.
What you're saying is you let everyone down.
Yes.
So you're a minister though now, right?
A minister of the Daily Show.
In my spare time.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So you felt a little outcastish, I guess, then, because of the town is so
Yeah, I mean,
redneckish, you would say?
Stuart backstage was saying, I'm pretty sure that the sort of childhood stories that people who come on the show tell all kind of fall into a certain path, like maybe an awkward inside kid who...
A lot of stuff about being the star of the football
Yeah.
team,
Yep.
most popular guy, big man on campus,
Yeah.
BMOC.
Too many dates.
Yeah. Imagine the opposite of a star of a show on the WB, and that was me.
So you were not a vampire.
Yeah.
Or did you run an advertising agency? Wasn't that one of the things in those vampire shows?
A vampire
Vampire
agent?
ad agency?
No,
That sounds like a great show.
I don't know. I don't know those shows at all, but I remember like
We have a great idea for your product.
Yeah.
I thought Angel was based on Angel.
He was a
don't se-
detective. He was a detective in Los Angeles, Andy.
You're not selling the blood, you're selling the neck. That's the secret of advertising.
Let's move down to Stuart Wellington.
Yeah.
Stuart Wellington. What were you like as a child? There, a little bit about your back history.
Well, I was a well-fed young man in Indiana.
Did your mom like to cook? Was she what kind of ethnicity was she?
No. I was trying to say that. I
What
was
kind of
fat.
ethnicity was she? This is also a racial profiling part of the show.
Did you come from those people who like to cook?
Well, I grew up in Indiana.
Mhm.
I stayed inside most of the time. My elementary school teachers had to make me go out to recess because I would try and stay inside and read books about dinosaurs. Which I think they were just trying to stay in and eat their lunch without kids around them for a while.
Yeah, I imagine.
I was ruining their private time or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was a
Were you really like frail and nerdy, or were you?
no. I mean, I
'cause you
was
seem
I
like
was,
a
I was
strapping
heavy
guy.
Kid. I was like, I don't know, large boned.
For anyone listening who isn't familiar with Stuart's look, he's basically the brawny paper towel guy.
Yeah, he's a very handsome, muscular gentleman.
Like if
now.
Seth Rogen
strapping.
played the brawny paper towel guy and got into really good shape for it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like Seth Rogen, right? He's like that guy, right? I haven't seen him lately.
He wasn't
but-
always strapping.
okay.
Seth Rogen was kind of fat, and then he got in shape. But anyway.
So yeah, that's me. I'm basically him. I'm the Green Hornet. But so yeah, like Dan, like I don't know, like I always felt like I didn't fit in, but I'm finding out now that apparently I did fit in. I talked to people.
How's
I
that? How
was
is it that you
basically-
found out that you were fitting in?
Well, I was talking to some people that I went to school with, and they were saying that they were like, "Oh yeah, he was way cool," and I'm like, "News to me. I was not a cool person.
Hmm.
I was a fat kid that stayed inside."
Did you ever meet any like people that
Maybe
you
they thought I was doing something cool while I was inside. I was not. I
well,
was
you were
reading
looking
about
at
plays by
dinosaurs.
his own rules. He doesn't go to recess when they tell him to.
Exactly.
He's having lunch with the teachers.
There was like a time where I remember meeting like this guy that bullied me in high school, and then like I saw him like later when I was like 25, and he was like so pally with me. He was like I was a friend. I'm like, you did nothing but torment me and how fat I was, and like now you're my friend because we're both kind of losers.
Well, you pulled a thorn from his paw.
That's-
Maybe you forgot that.
No,
Now
I
he's
guess
your
I
friend.
did.
Maybe he thought you were the most badass tough guy there, and he was trying to make himself seem cool.
Yeah, like prison rules.
I don't
Yeah.
think so. I was a crybaby. But let us move down to the line to Elliot.
Yes, let's brush past your crybabiness.
How convenient that we're moving when you just admitted you were a crybaby. That's-
I'm still a
well, yeah,
crybaby.
I shat my pants in high school a lot. Anyway, let's keep moving
And
to.
I cry a lot and I still shit my pants a lot. So
I mean, I didn't want to make it that real. That's
So,
Now
Don't
we're
worry,
too
don't
far
worry.
in.
It's for
on
sexual
the subject
reasons,
of
for
pants
sexual
shitting,
reasons now.
Elliot.
Speaking of pants shitting, I was my story is much like many nerd stories. It's much like what we've heard
You
from
were
Stuart
bitten
and
by a
Dan.
radioactive spider.
Bitten by a radioactive spider. I got cancer. I beat the cancer, but it was like a spider-based cancer. It's pretty much the same story, except I was not overweight. I was a frail, skinny child, and I was always shorter than everyone else in class. And when I was a little kid, this was something I found, like, I took a source of pride in. Like, I was the most of something. I was the shortest. And then when you get older, it's a horrible curse. You know, it's
Right.
terrible. And now that I ride the subway every day, it is once again a boon. Because I see tall people on the subway, and I'm like, oh, you jerk. You're so squashed in, idiot. You're so stupid being tall.
I mean, you
Anyway.
can ride in somebody's backpack, so you don't even have to walk, right?
You're in a little papoose.
Yes, yeah. I say these things from the dog carrier bag that my owner carries me around in.
I
yeah.
I have a horrible racistly thing to say. But I went to a
On that
Racist?
note,
Go on.
You turned it into an adverb. but
yeah.
Racist is already
No,
an adjective.
I found this really strange, but I went to a party a long time ago with this girl who was Jewish, and everybody at the party was more or less Jewish.
Are you sure it was a party and not like a temple service?
Yeah.
Or like a bris, maybe.
Yeah.
There was a lot
And then
of
they cut part of this baby's penis off. And I was like, what kind of party is this?
this is
They were
sick.
talking in a language I didn't even know.
But at one point, one of the people in the members of the party like pointed out, they were like, "You're the tallest person in this room," and I was like, and I looked around and I was, and then they're like, "That's because you're not." They said this to me. They're like, "It's because you're not Jewish," and I was like, "I never heard of that as a stereotype that you're like being short was Jewish."
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't.
You are a racist, Andy.
This, I think if you would ask someone who is Jewish, their idea of a non-Jewish person would be tall, probably completely hairless on their body,
Yeah.
and not interested in health or the weather. That's, I think, what Jews think non-Jews are like.
They like mayo, I guess.
They're like, yeah, mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise.
And,
Just
uh,
mayonnaise.
I mean, we don't know it well
Wait,
enough
like
to call
out
it
of
mayo.
like
That's
a bowl of cereal, like just eating mayonnaise.
Sounds actually some Chex with mayonnaise in it.
That's gross.
That's kind of I don't know. Well, let me get to our my staple question. We'll go down the line again.
About Staples.
yeah, I use
Sure.
a I use a
Staples.
1/8 inch.
Yeah.
Now I find it's big enough to hold the papers together and not so big
What about
that
when
it's
you have
too
to
heavy.
What do you do when you have to staple Daily Show scripts there?
We use paper clips.
Oh, okay. Well,
That's eco-friendly.
no. Let
No,
me.
because we throw away the paper clips, and the paper clips are made out of styrofoam.
When I when I meant staple, I meant mainstay. Try to think of a pun on that one there,
Oh,
smart
man,
guy.
It's really hard. It's really hard.
Weisenheimer. Let me ask you our mainstay question. Dan McCoy, do you have any free advice you would like to give our audience tonight? Something about the world at large you've learned?
Yeah, I mean,
or-
as soon as you have the means, and probably before you have the means, you should buy some clothes that fit you well.
Are you talking to me specifically?
No, just people.
I mean,
I realized that for years I was still wearing clothes that my parents had bought me, and as an adult, that's probably a bad idea. And you feel a lot better once you're wearing clothes that both fit you physically and suit you. So,
What would a short person like me do who can't find clothes that fit him very well?
well, you could buy regular person clothes. That's what I call them, regular person clothes.
But what if I'm non-regular person size?
No, I was thinking you could have some, perhaps have them altered in that case.
Oh, okay.
I always have the fantasy. It's a weird fantasy of getting things hemmed, but I never bother.
Yeah. Hem it for me, you little tailor.
I don't know, but it's just like I never have the time or the like. I'm like, oh, I should go. Now I have that time. I should go get those pants hemmed finally, but I never do.
yeah, where would you get that done at?
You can get them at some dry cleaners. They have on-site tailors. So you've got to look for the picture of a tailor on dry cleaner windows. And
You have to look for the picture of Jonathan Taylor Thomas on dry cleaner windows.
Because that's what he's doing now. He's a dry
yeah.
cleaner.
He's a dry cleaner and he tailors things.
Stuart
He's
Wellington.
not just a model posing like to
No.
promote Taylor.
No, he does it.
Advice. Man, I don't know.
Or anything you learned recently that you feel like is an interesting factoid that people should know. Or
Well, no, this is a bit of advice.
Yeah,
if
go ahead.
if you're on the subway listening to music and you pass gas, other people can probably hear it. I mean, I normally just turn my volume up a little bit and kind of chuckle to myself, and I'm like, got away with it again, guys. But somebody probably heard me. So save it for when you get off, or when you get off the train, or when the train's coming in, it's really loud, and then people probably won't hear it.
good.
And the smell you don't worry about at all.
In the subway system? Yeah, that's what they're smelling.
That's I think I fart a lot.
Nope.
But the
okay.
funny
You cry and
Ladies.
fart.
I cry and I fart a lot, but like one of my things is I manage to always not fart actually on the subway because there's so many people who can be at ass level that you're literally just like farting into their face.
They knew the risks. When
Yeah,
they
they're
took
sitting
that
down.
seat, they knew the risk.
Is that what they legitimately like? I could get a cab, but I'll risk getting farted in the face. But fair enough. Thank you, Stuart. Elliot, is any free advice you'd like to give away?
This is something that I learned later than I should have, or when it was later than I wish I had learned it, which is that people don't like it when you correct them on things, and it often doesn't matter if they know the right thing or not. So, like, if someone says Frankenstein instead of Frankenstein's monster, just
Right.
let it go. Doesn't matter. Or, like, if someone says, you know, Orson Welles was only 30 when he made Citizen Kane. He was younger than that. He was 25. But it's not going to change the world if they're wrong. They don't.
Right.
It's not. And whenever you correct someone, they're never like,
Oh,
thank you. Oh my God, what have I been saying? Oh, I sound like an idiot. They just get mad at you. So if
Well-
someone says something wrong that will not affect their life in any way, just let it go.
You know, you should talk to more people with lower self-esteem, maybe. That way, when you correct them, they're like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, that'll be their first reaction to it. Versus, like, oh, thanks, smart ass. And,
That's what I usually get. Yeah.
yeah. I like to be corrected. I know I'm not perfect.
No, you totally don't.
Yeah.
Think about it. Think about the last time someone corrected you. Your immediate response was probably, fuck you. And then afterwards you were like, oh yeah, that's good that I know that now. But it's just like when you have a surprise party, it's a really nice thing, but your first reaction is, oh shit. Like when you
I gotta deal with all these people.
the minute you see
In my home.
the minute you see people when you expected no people,
Yeah.
the first reaction is always anger. And then after a couple seconds it's like, oh, this is lovely.
Well, we have to move on to the next segment in the show. So we know our panel. So it's time to dispense the advice. The first part of the show I normally like. The first part of the show I normally like to turn the podcast inward. I'm a litany of issues. And what I do is I ask the panel for how can you help me with something. So my problem this week is that this one is going to be hard. I feel like I'm going to get a lot of shit. But I was wondering.
Well, now you are.
I was wondering how can you brag about something? Like I legitimately watch I'll watch reruns of the BBC Office all day. I don't really have a job, so nothing exciting happens to me regularly. Okay?
Well, it sounds like you're bragging right now.
Nothing exciting happens to me regularly, but for instance, though, recently, and this is a very rare thing, I did book a commercial, and I'm excited about that. But when
What's it for?
Can I not say? Or
Okay, well, I mean,
because
it's your show. It's
no, I know, but well, I did book a commercial. It was fun. I actually got to do it with somebody I know, and that was
Andy, we're going to put the teeth in your neck.
it was for Dracula. But I find it whenever I encounter people, I found it weird to like when people ask me what's going on, I feel like somebody would be like, "Hey, what's going on?" I don't know if I should start off saying this accomplishment because it's literally the only thing that's happened to me recently, and I'm just trying to figure out is there kind of an etiquette you think of telling people good news that you're happy about, but not seem like you're gloating, or because I'm tired. Normally when people ask me how it's going, I'm like, oh, or what are you doing? I'm like, nothing. And I literally say nothing so much that when this happens, I feel like I should say something. I shouldn't. It is important to me. It's something that's good, but I don't know how to begin to address it to people.
Well, it seems like the way you brag about it is on your podcast,
Right.
in the form of a question to a panel.
Right. I knew I had a feeling I was going to get that, but
I think if people know you, Andy,
Yeah.
I think if they say, "How's it going?" you are well within your rights to say, "Actually, Andy Rocco, had something really good happen to me," and those people will be happy for you.
Right.
If you tell them.
No one I think is like, ugh, I want to feel better about my life. I know, I'll ask Andy about his. He'll say nothing,
He's
and
got
I'll
nothing
think
going
of something.
On. Yeah.
Well,
And then you tell them, oh, I booked a commercial, and they're like, drat, foiled.
well, Dan, you were hired on the Daily Show. Did you? Were you kind of reluctant to tell people a little bit? Did that seem gloating?
Don't really. I mean, like,
You took out an ad.
He bragged about it on a podcast. In fact,
I mean, I posted it for like when it happened, and it was like getting out into the world, and like people were knowing, so that they would be talking about it anyway.
It was going to be in all the papers. So
No, but among my
you had to get out in front of that story.
Read all about it.
among my friends, though, like
extra, guy gets job.
people were talking to each other. So I posted like a short thing on like Facebook. Like I'm like, yeah, I got it, and like I was I felt gratified that everyone seemed happy for me.
Right.
Like when I meet someone that I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't like being asked like what I do for a job,
Right.
because then it like even if I'm just telling them what I do for a job, it feels like bragging. Like it
Right,
feels like I'm just
right.
like writer for a thing. You know, like I don't want to get into it. Sort of.
I actually have the same experience because I work with Dan on the Daily Show, and when people ask me what do, I go like, oh, I'm a writer, and then I will only tell them where I write if they ask, basically. And sometimes that comes off as me fishing for questions, but often I think it comes off as I don't have to tell them and then feel like a jerk.
Mostly the questions are going to be like, "What's Jon Stewart like?"
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it must be so funny to work there. Oh, how did you get that? Because I think I'm pretty funny, and that's a very unpleasant conversation to have.
I think probably the saving grace. I think tying it into Stewart, who just got recently married. I think that's always a good news that you can always just
What?
bring up right away.
yeah, you can always brag about being married. People are always happy to hear that.
Yeah, you can I can be like, "Hey, Stewart," and you could be like, "Got married," and
Yeah,
that could be the end of it.
exactly. Well, I'm a bartender, and
Mm-hmm.
it's actually kind of helpful because I can mention that I can use that as a conversation starter,
Yeah.
and especially other couples love talking about weddings, whether or not they're married or not.
Mhm.
And they love to find out where it happened and whether or not Dan was wearing a tuxedo Speedo during part of it, and all this stuff.
Was he?
The answer is yes.
Yeah, of
Certainly.
course.
Nice.
Oh, wait, excuse me, I don't know any of your friends, but I want to know, was Dan McQuill?
Was Dan McCoy, writer of The Daily Show? I read about
Also,
it.
how do you get a job at the Daily Show?
Because I'm pretty funny. I mean, not tuxedo speedo
Also,
funny.
how do you
but
get a tuxedo speedo?
yeah, I would say, Andy, that it's nice. People like hearing nice things happening to people they know.
Yeah.
And there's also a way to say it. You don't go up to people and go, "Guess what, motherfucker?"
Well, I mean, I don't know. It just feels like I think there's a point where I was trying not to say anything about certain good things, but then when people find out, it just seems like you're gloating. It's just I've been doing this thing the whole time.
That's more the sound that you make when a lion jumps at you. Ah!
No, but you're saying people think that you're pulling a fast one on them,
or
like
you're
your Kaiser Soze.
or you're just too I think there's an element that sounds like you're too cool for school kind of thing.
When you
Yeah, I would have told you, but it's on a need-to-know basis.
I don't know. I'm just so you think
I think you should err on the side of being honest and open.
yeah. So legit. So just to play it out a little. So
Do you want to set up a role play?
yeah. Do you
Where
want
one of us is a person you're telling this information to?
Well, Sean, do you want to try this?
Sure.
Okay. I haven't
Hey, Andy Rocco.
Hey, Sean.
What's going on,
I
Andy?
haven't seen you. How's L.A.?
Oh, it's great. I'm
Yeah.
doing very well. I'm working quite a bit. I'm a good actor. What can I say? What's going on with you?
Nothing much. I have a podcast show. I'm gonna have some of my most favorite people.
You're burying the lead. Okay, keep going.
But
Podcast, huh?
yeah, I'm actually booked something recently for a commercial.
What? You booked a commercial?
Yeah.
I've been auditioning for commercials for 20 years. I've never booked a thing. We're not friends anymore, Andy.
That's what I'm afraid is going to happen.
You
didn't go
braggart.
well.
All right. Well,
That did not go well.
Yeah, Elliot. Good advice, Elliot.
Yeah, I
Well
think
done.
all of our advice was terrible.
Well, now
apparently.
he's driven away his loser friends, and he can make new friendships with the cool Hollywood people he's going to meet at the
Perfect.
commercial.
well, I guess. That wraps it up. My monkey. I have a little. I have a little
By all
monkey.
There is a monkey here, by the way, if you're listening at home. And he just ran across the stage. So.
There's nothing more confusing than to be listening to a podcast and just hear without comment, my monkey, and then just continues going.
No, I just for every show I thought it'd be fun to have like kitschy little things on my desk,
My giraffe!
and I have a little finger monkey that you put on the end of your finger.
And
It's
it
a
was
little
very important to the podcast listeners at home that you picked that up at that moment
Yeah, it's
after
fun.
knocking it
Come
off.
on, it was funny right
Pick
now.
up your
Just-
finger monkey.
Yeah, people want to come see the show and be like, I want to see those finger monkeys.
Exactly.
All right, so we're moving on to my favorite part of the show. It's the meat of the show. Is the the part of the show where we what I do is I get questions from advice columns from the internet and the newspapers, and I just rip out those questions and I have our panel answer them. So these are real questions from advice columns from apparently real people, and we're gonna hear.
Like penthouse letters, right?
I don't know. I wish they had an advice column in Penthouse Letters. It would be more to adjacent to the letters, which were like, how do we get that to happen to me kind of thing.
I was talking more about the apparently real people part.
Well,
but
some
I
real
like-
person wrote those letters. I don't think they have a penthouse sex letter writing robot.
Well, I don't think robot technology is
Yeah.
advanced enough to have
Sex
something.
bots are at the point now where they can basically provide basic services.
Well,
But they can't
robot,
describe
I mean,
a story.
they can, but robots don't understand what we humans find erotic. That's the problem.
Yeah, they have. They have a-
and penthouse letters seem to understand that pretty well.
I don't think the Penthouse writers sometimes understand what the needs of what.
I
is
was
erotic.
charging my solar cells. No.
So let's play a question and see how the panel fares on it. Pat Bear, you want to play the first question?
Dear Here to Help, I was involved with Ralph for 2 years. We live in a senior apartment complex, and women have been coming on to him for years. He is now seeing Joan, who happens to be my neighbor. This hurts me deeply. This is a small complex, and it's difficult to face them. I am desperately trying to hold my words and feelings inside because it is hard not to call this woman a slut. I blame Ralph more. He made the decision to humiliate me. But how can Joan do this to her own neighbor? How do I handle this with class? Shattered heart in Wyoming.
Okay, so.
So this is a senior citizen, is that correct?
Yes.
Probably shattered hip in Wyoming. Oh, ba-boom.
So that's how you get a job at the Daily Show.
Yep. Actually, pretty much, yeah.
Based on your clever responses to this show. Yeah, what do you do? And maybe I guess think about it in the sense of a close knit community.
Yeah,
maybe
were they friends? Like it sounded like
Well, neighbors.
yeah, they're
neighbors.
just neighbors. I think that this woman
Nobody's friends at an old folks complex. It's just these are the people my age who are still alive.
yeah.
Right, you're just trying to win. Basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
If I stay alive longer than these motherfuckers, I
Well,
win.
eventually Joan's gonna die,
Yeah.
and Ralph's gonna have to come back. That's what I think.
I just think that they're like misunderstanding the concept of neighbors. Like they are, like she's putting something on a neighbor that should not be there, which is like the idea, like, oh, this person will never date someone who's free from attachments that I used to date. Stuart, you'll give an
I
opinion on
mean,
that.
Joan probably has a lot of options, and she exclusively picked this one guy.
Very good
Ralph.
point.
Of
Not a
all
lot of
the
men
other
there.
handsome guys.
If my research trips to my grandmother's building are any indication, there are not a lot of old men for old women to
yeah,
date.
that's true. There's way more women than there are
And
men.
certainly if Ralph does either one of these two things, drives at night or does not use a cane or a walking thingy, equipment, my grandmother
The
calls
sexual
it.
dynamo, you're calling him.
Yes. Then he is top-notch, choice, prime,
catch.
grade A beefsteak. and you can't feel bad for. I mean, Joan is going to go after the best. She deserves it. She's lived a hard life.
You'd think that the lesbianism would probably just go up then, according to that fact.
I think they're a little too old to suddenly be experimenting. I think you get set in your sexual ways.
I tried it with a woman once in the old folks' home, but that was the only time.
I would. So, I don't know. I don't know. I would say, I was thinking it would be funny if the Ralph died and then just Joan went after her.
It's always funny when somebody dies. Always.
I mean, if she feels comfortable being with another woman, then that's certainly an option.
I think that should be the option.
She
that
could
should
also
be our
get
answer.
I think at this point she could also get a pet, and it might fill the same role, that of a companion.
Get all the movie channels on cable
So that's
just to stay busy.
so just get a pet or get all the movie channels.
Or hire a young guy. I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Okay.
Yeah, she's getting Social Security, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, all right.
Were tax dollars going to gigolos? A Fox investigative report.
All right. Let's.
And
let's
I mean, it is Wyoming. I mean,
yeah.
It's true. I forgot it was Wyoming. You're right.
There's a
There's
pretty bustling single scene.
Let's. Well, I feel like that one's covered. So let's do another one. Here's the next question, Pat.
Dear Here to Help. I work in a doctor's office. One of our patients makes a big scene if we do not address him by his title, Reverend Smith. He has to tell everyone within earshot that he went to school for 8 years to get that title. He insists, out of respect, we should address him as such. This man is not my reverend. So far, I have avoided calling him this. Am I being disrespectful, or is he being pompous? Unimpressed in Louisville.
Okay. Unimpressed in
I
Louisville.
can understand why he's unimpressed, since people in the hospital go to school for 8 years to save lives. Whereas,
Yeah.
like, you go to 8 years to be a reverend, and it's like, I guess in theory you know more about God, but, you know,
Right.
you can't, like,
Yeah, you
replace
sa-
a heart with another heart.
Yeah, he saves souls.
Yeah, but which is worth more?
No, I mean, theoretically, the soul.
I disagree.
Okay.
Sean, you.
Yeah, I would just call him by the wrong religious title every time. You know? Like, hey, Father Smith. Hey, Rabbi Smith.
Oh, Yogi Smith.
Cardinal Smith. Bishop Smith.
You remember His Holiness, the Dalai Lama? It's Reverend Smith. Ooh.
That'd take the air out, you know? Because, yeah, he is being pompous. Who cares?
All right. Fair enough.
I mean, he's in a doctor's office. He should be worrying more about his health, right?
Right.
Yeah.
How
Thank
often is
God.
he there, too?
I've got to assume. That's the thing. I've got to assume he's not even there to get a checkup or anything, just to be introduced to people as a reverend.
He then goes to the ice cream parlor. Address me as Reverend Smith. I'll have a rocky road.
I feel when I bring my lawnmower in to be repaired, you don't give me the proper respect by calling me Reverend Smith.
All right. All right. Let's move on to the next question. Pat Barrett, we have another question. Yes.
Dear Here to Help. When I married my husband Mason 30 years ago, I was the only girl he could get. He was a great catch by my standards and still is. But back then, nobody else wanted him but me, which was fine with me. I don't like competition. We had a great life together up until the last 10 years or so. Mason is aging gracefully, and there's something about him that every woman is suddenly interested in. They all treat him like he's a new toy. They fawn over him, and I become invisible. We don't get out much, and I used to think I wanted to go out more. But now I just want to stay home and hide my husband inside. The real problem is, Mason loves the attention. It could be what he always wanted. I don't know how to handle this without getting my feelings hurt, pouting, or becoming incredibly jealous. He gives me no reason to think he'll be unfaithful, but I can't help but worry. Wife of a late bloomer in Indiana.
Not a lot of young people writing into the advice columns.
Yeah, did you just copy from the American Association of Retired Persons advice column?
So what you do is you get some handcuffs and a radiator in your house.
Yeah, has she seen Misery? It seems like that's
hobble this
that's
guy.
the easy solution.
Or Gerald's Game.
Or
Or
throw
Gerald.
some
Yeah, the
acid in
movie
his
of
face.
Gerald's
I
Game.
don't know.
So he was attractive when he was 25, but
Nope.
now that he's in his late 50s, he's hot.
No, he was. No, I think it's one of those things where, like, I think I'm actually probably going to be more attractive when I'm much older.
Okay,
than I am now.
Oh, really?
No,
You're gonna be
I
hitting the gym, and
yeah, I'll finally hit the gym.
I like it.
If my heart can take it. No, but like he was a late bloomer. He was not like super attractive when he was younger, and his wife was okay with how he looked. But then he became like.
Did they get married when he was like
distinguished.
13?
It seemed like he was sort of okay, and she was very unattractive. Was the impression I got.
Also, when he was like 54, he finally bought clothes that fit him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he became way more attractive.
That does make a difference.
He stopped wearing the clothes his parents bought him when he was a baby.
Look, it was very tight when I was wearing that onesie around. Is all I'm saying.
I mean, it sounds like she needs to stop being frightened and start being proud of how attractive her husband is.
And
If
then
you-
get into swinging.
Wait, what?
That's where you were going with that.
That was not where I
Whoa.
was going.
that's a big step.
But now that we're here, let's stay here.
Yeah. Let him, let him sow his wild oats. Let him go out on the town, come back, describe his erotic adventures.
Oh,
Oh,
so
no,
they're
like
not
a
gonna
swap.
do it together.
Yeah, you got to swap,
Yeah, I mean, sure, you could do it that way too. There's a lot of ways.
or you do it together. I've seen enough Cinemax shows. I know that married couples like to bring one person back with them
right.
to share.
But you have to always have to steer clear of the serial killer who's killing strippers. That's also something I learned from Cinemax.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sean.
So
did
he
you-
shouldn't swing with a stripper.
Sean,
No.
you seem to have a thought or something.
What's that?
You seem contemplative about this question.
Or you were remembering Cinemax movies from years past.
No, I mean, to me, it sounds like she is slowly losing
Decaying.
her mind. Like,
Okay.
that she's really becoming jealous as she's been with this guy for 30 years, that other
Yeah.
people pay attention to him. That seems insane.
Yeah, it is. It is mean of her to be like, oh, people like my husband. This
Yeah.
must stop. I am the star. I am.
He's never given any indication that he's going to cheat on me. He's not,
Right.
unfaithful.
So
but enough is enough that people are talking to him and being nice to him.
Maybe he's trying to slowly drive her crazy by paying actors. Okay, listen to me, guys. Listen, okay, he's paying actors to pretend he's getting more handsome, and she's going to be driven mad, and then he'll get all her inheritance.
So it's a gaslight situation.
yeah,
is
of
what you're
course.
saying.
He'll get her diamonds or whatever.
Let's do. We have time for one more.
Yay.
And then
Sweet.
we're gonna move on. We're gonna do some plugs, but let's do the last question. Pat
Another
Bear?
old folks' home.
And
Dear Here to Help, I work as a mattress salesman. Often when I tell my customers about the 10-year warranty on a bed, they'll reply, "Oh, I doubt I'll be around that long." At that point, I'm usually at a loss for words. Any suggestions as to an appropriate response? Speechless in Suffern, New York.
I mean, I think that what you do is you go, "Yep, you're gonna die," and then you sell them the mattress.
The
am I
cold
right?
embrace of the grave will take us all with it.
This is,
I
this
doubt
life is
I'll
but
be
a-
around that long. My neighbor is fucking Ralph. I'm going to off myself.
It's such a strange problem end question. Because
Yeah.
it seems like, your response would be like, oh, of course you will. Anyway, this mattress, you should buy it with the warranty.
But again, is he just getting old people in his shop? Like, what's
gotta be.
going on?
It's the only mattress store that specializes in old people and depressed teens.
Yeah.
There's a 10-year warranty in this, oh, I'm not going to be around that long. Everybody hates me. Well, I mean, you'll grow out of it.
I didn't know a lot of teens were buying mattresses.
I'm a stripper, and as you know, there's a serial killer killing strippers, so I probably won't be around that long. Oops, there go my clothes.
These people don't think they'll be around very long, but they will be around long enough that they want a better mattress. This is not something you buy
Well,
every
no,
day.
if you're not gonna be around that long, you want to invest in comfort. You know, you don't want to be sad and having like tossing and turning for the last few years of your life.
That's true. All
Oh,
that
yeah,
money
that
you
makes
could have
sense.
spent.
I mean, this seems like a question you would want to bring up with the manager of your mattress store. Like whatever the company line
There-
is.
I
Before
don't-
you take it to an advice
Is someone killing our customers?
Could you let me work with a sane, rational person every once in a while?
It's bad enough when Reverend Smith comes in, but these old people, I just don't. I'm speechless. And as you know, for a mattress salesman, speech is our number one tool. That is to a mattress salesman what an axe is to an axe man. It's
Wait, what's an axe man?
a man who uses an axe.
Okay.
I just say sell them the cheaper mattress then. Just be like, hey, all right, whatever you want.
I mean, why
This this mattress has a 2-week warranty, so you should
Perfect.
be fine all the way.
Perfect.
In fact, it's just made out of toilet paper. It'll just rip up shreds later.
Sounds like a terrible mattress.
Well, you're only going to be alive for 2 more weeks, so.
So you might as well sleep on toilet paper.
You know
What do
what?
you mean
Any,
I'm only going to be alive for 2 more weeks?
any mattress is going to not feel as good as heaven, and so you might as well just. You're going to be in heaven soon on a fluffy cloud.
You could sell them on the idea like, oh no, this is the mattress of immortality.
For every night you spend in a warranty mattress, you gain 2 weeks of life.
Do
Oh.
the math.
That's wonderful. All right. We're sadly coming to the end of the show. It's been
Boo.
I know, seriously. I am, but this is the time where we can find out where we can find our friends doing things next. Sean, is there anything you'd like to plug or some things that people can find?
I'd like to plug The Daily Show. And if they're hiring, no. I actually have a podcast myself called The Long Shot. And you can find that at thelongshotpodcast.com.
Wonderful.
And you should check it out. It's fun.
Great. This is longshotpodcast.com, you said?
Mm-hmm. Thelongshotpodcast.com.
The Long Shot.
On Twitter, @longshotpodcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's also on Facebook.
You tweet, right? And such. You want to plug your
I
tweet?
tweet. Yes, I tweet. At Sean Conroy.
Great.
And mostly I tweet bragging things.
Okay. All right.
That's the end, Andy. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. Dan McCoy.
I'm going to cede to Elliot for the general Flophouse plug because Elliot's good at talking. So why don't you tell about our live show?
Oh, yeah.
I
we
like
have a-
that you're not good at talking, so you have a podcast.
well, I
okay.
have personal things of my own to plug afterwards, but
Take it all.
okay. We are the co-hosts, as mentioned, of the podcast The Flophouse, the best bad movie podcast on the internet, bar none. None will be barred, but this. Dan, what is the URL, which I can never remember?
It is www.flophousepodcast.com.
Yes, flophousepodcast.com.
Very funny.
We will be having a live Flophouse show
What?
on January 20th at 92Y Tribeca. That's the 92Y location for cool young people. We're going to be showing the movie 12 Rounds, starring WWE star John Cena and Carcetti from The Wire, whose name I can't remember, his real name.
Aiden Gillen.
Aidan Gillen. You may know him as Littlefinger in Game of Thrones. They will not be there, but we'll be watching their movie and commenting on it in Mystery Science Theater fashion. We did a similar screening like this a couple months ago of a movie called Twin Sitters, and it was a huge success. It was a possible sellout. I don't remember. So January 20th, you can get tickets at the 92Y Tribeca website, which is 92ytribeca.org.
Wonderful.
Stuart, before we cut you out, is there something you wanted to plug?
And then I have more to
please.
plug.
No, I don't really have anything to plug. I'm not a Daily Show writer or anything.
Do you want to recommend Castle Freak or anything?
I do want you to go out and watch the movie Castle Freak, directed by Stuart Gordon.
And what happens in Castle Freak?
I think some guy rips off his own ding dong.
Dude, you know what I saw recently was the original Last House on the Left, and that has a ripped off ding dong in
That's
it.
a
too.
creepy movie.
Perfect.
It is very creepy.
I Spit on Your Grave has a cutoff ding dong.
True.
Dan, do you have any ding
Guys,
dongs?
save it for the Ding Dong Cast.
I will briefly plug also. I host a monthly movie screening series at 92Y Tribeca, the first Wednesday of each month, and in January we're going to be showing The Beguiled with Clint Eastwood,
That movie's awesome.
where Clint Eastwood has to deal with a bevy of babes in a Civil War era girls' academy, and it leads to gothic melodrama, and also a comic for Marvel that I wrote for recently called Shame Itself that came out. That if you're a comedy fan, you will like because it's comedy people writing comedy things.
Neat. Great.
On to the next set of plugs that I have. That's all I have.
Wonderful. So if you want to email us a question that we can read on the show, or if you have any questions or comments,
Especially if you're very, very elderly. Please
yeah,
please write in.
No youngins.
But if you have any questions that you want to have your question addressed here on the show, please email us at
I'm dying. What's going to happen next?
email us at
Take that
herethehelppodcast at Gmail. We also have a website, which is www. I don't know why I said that because it's implied. But the Here to Help podcast at .com. We have all the backlogs of all the old episodes. You can hear the one that Dan McCoy was on. You were on the second one. He was very funny on, so you can also follow us on Twitter on HTH Podcast. Tweet us anything. We'll read it on the show. I'd like to thank Sean Conroy, Dan McCoy, Stuart Wellington, and Elliot Kalin for doing the show. It's been a lot of fun. I hope you guys had a lot of fun too. I thank you very much for listening. And this has been the Here to Help podcast. Thank you and have a good night.
Do you know all that advice you just got? You're
This has been Here to Help, hosted by Andy Rocco. Today's guests were the Flophouse Podcast, Sean Conroy, Dan McCoy, Elliot Kalin, and Stuart Wellington. The show is directed by John Robert Wilson. Today's episode was recorded on December 18, 2011. For more episodes, go to HereToHelpPodcast.com. This show is recorded weekly at UCB